Good morning. Welcome everyone to the April 22nd, 2021 Curriculum Committee meeting. I'd like to officially call this meeting to order and start with the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to comment that we have Mr. Sides and Reverend Kirkpatrick on the phone, and Mrs. May is here with me. Next, we have approval of the meeting minutes from March 18th.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay. And now the fun stuff. We'll move to the summer learning camp update, and I will turn it over to Dr. Breedlove.
Good morning, and thank you, board members, for your time and your dedication to Union County Public Schools. It is greatly appreciated. The topic this morning, we have one, and it is the summer learning camp that Union County Public Schools will be offering this summer. And this is a general overview and time for you all to ask questions as we start digging into this a little bit more as we go throughout the next month, 2 months. So I will start off with just a quick overview. Union County Public Schools will offer a 6-week summer learning camp for the purposes of responding to learning loss due to COVID-19. The Union County Public School Learning Camp will provide both in-person instruction and enrichment activities to students who attend the camp. Our primary focus for enrollment is our students identified as at risk, as well as students who have IEPs, EL students. Those type of students will be given priority consideration. But with that said, we are making this opportunity available to all students, regardless of their status or need. This is open to all and required of none, as long as the space is available within our summer camp. And participation is voluntary for our summer camp. It's up to the parents. I'll start off just going just a general overview of House Bill 82, which is the legal obligation for Union County Public Schools, as well as all other LEAs throughout the state. Let's take a look at the structure and the funding. All LEAs must offer 150 hours or a 30-day summer learning opportunity. We will prioritize at-risk students, and the LEA will end up notifying parents of the opportunity, and of which we have already started. The LEA sets the criteria for other students within the availability and spacing. Funding, when we look at funding, we have federal relief funding, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and then down the road, ESSER 3. The 2020-2021 reading camp funding for Read to Achieve, which is our grades 1, 2, and 3. Traditionally, though, we have extended that to kindergarten as well within Union County Public Schools. But as far as the legislation, it is grades 1, 2, and 3. And then, of course, we have at-risk funds that we are given from the state that can be applied to our summer camp as well. Going further on down on this slide, you'll see that program requirements. We will have to submit our plan to the Department of Public Instruction. That is a part of the legislation. This plan must include not only the structure and funding as I've mentioned above, but it also will include, it says that we are to include transportation, a daily meal, looking at breakfast, possibly breakfast and a lunch, and then a snack as well, something in there. The daily physical activity needs to be included, such as recess or PE. We will need to make sure that we build in small group or individualized instruction, because remember, our prioritization is at-risk students, and that includes tutoring throughout the day. And then, of course, in-person SEL supports, and then the State Board of Education is to provide a K-8 pre and post assessment for LEAs at the beginning of summer, and then, of course, at the end of summer to measure progress. As we move forward with House Bill 82, we look at grade level requirements. Let's take a look at grades K-8. In grades K through 8, particularly K2, we have in-person reading and math, and then grades 3 through 8, we will see reading, math, and science taking place within the camp. Integration of Read to Achieve is a part of it. So in the past, we've really only offered the Read to Achieve side of it, but now this will be integrated into our summer learning camp as proposed in House Bill 82 and adopted in legislation. It's also to include that daily enrichment activities. That could be music, that could be art, sports, and then a period of physical activity. In grades 9 through 12, in-person instruction in EOC subjects. Those are Math 1, Math 3, English 2, and Biology. We also will have credit recovery opportunities for students, because in high school, you know, that timeline, that clock starts. The student enters ninth grade and to acquire the appropriate number of credits to graduate from Union County Public Schools. So we will offer credit recovery as part of this as well. And in-person instruction for an elective needs to be included as part of legislation. That could be something like CTE, Adobe, AutoCAD, things like that, programs like that we offer. But it just says an elective. That's all the legislation says. And then lastly, once again, even at the high school level, a physical activity throughout the day. Continuing on, program staffing. We will use a separate temporary and employment contract. That is part of the legislation for all teachers and staff. These contracts will end, though, at the end of the summer school date. Of course, legislation puts in there October 1 and as the cutoff date, and that is primarily focused on those schools that are year-round schools. Recent retirees, in the past, you had to wait 6 months, all right, to work. Well, if you retired between December 1st of 2020 and March 1st of 2021, they have taken that 6 month out and declared it a 1 month. You had to wait 1 month and in order to come back and work your summer camp. And then finally, requiring teacher, the House Bill 82 requires teacher bonuses, a minimum of $1,200 signing bonus to those national board certified teachers, as well as teachers who have received a performance bonus. Those are the growth bonuses that we have given out for both reading and math. And then finally, $150 additional bonus is in the legislation for third grade teachers who are able to move students who were not proficient at the beginning of summer to proficiency status. They get an additional $150 per student that we are able to progress into proficiency by the end of the summer. All right, so that's the legislation. It's very, obviously applies to the entire state, but let's take a look at Union County Public Schools and some of the work that we've been able to put together in a short amount of time, and we will continue to do so. This is only the beginning, and this is the information that we have currently available. There we go. Hit the slide too many times.
Dr. Breedlove, do you mind if we take a pause for a minute before we move into the calendar?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So one of the questions that we are getting from Union County parents and Union County parents calling Raleigh is a clarification on House Bill 82, and I believe I sent it to you and Michelle yesterday. so through the presentation, you said all students. So is that all students that are citizens of Union County, or all students enrolled in Union County Public School, currently enrolled in Union County Public Schools? I just wanted to get a clarification on what all means.
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question, because there has been several versions of the bill, and then on the latest version, we see it as currently enrolled in Union County Public Schools. So it's for those students who are enrolled in our school system.
Okay, so that is great to get on the record, because I know a lot of people are watching today. So currently enrolled Union County Public School students is your understanding as of the latest version.
That is correct.
So the version that I also saw a couple of days ago that Dr. Houlihan had posted on Twitter, which I read through, it also, that just clarify for me if that made it through or not, but it had been reported that currently enrolled students in charter schools could request a seat in their home assignment, even though they go to a charter school and not Union County Public Schools. So if you and Michelle could clarify, I would like a clarification on charter school students and private school students.
Yes, ma'am. I will defer to Ms. Morris to really kind of say how that information got out and why it may have gotten out that way. But Ms. Morris, if you want to talk about that.
Yes, good morning. Version 4 of this bill, House Bill 82, had a provision, and it was section 1.6, which talked about participation by students not enrolled in the local school administrative unit. So that would be charter, home, private school students. And it said, if there is space available in the program after all students who are enrolled in the local administrative unit for the 2021 school year have had the opportunity to register. So it did, if there was a space available after our kids. The version that was passed, ratified, and signed by the governor does not have that provision in it any longer. So it would be my assumption and my interpretation that if the General Assembly intended for those students to be eligible to enroll, they would have left that provision in.
Sure.
They took that provision out.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the General Assembly, when they were working on this, they did take into consideration homeschool, charter school, and private school, but the final version that was signed by the governor did not have that in there.
Correct.
Okay. So for all purposes today, we are only talking about Union County Public Schools currently enrolled students. They had to be enrolled this school year.
That's the way I interpret the bill, yes. Because
Okay.
that section was removed.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you another question? Which I think the answer is the same as what Ms. Merrill was asking, but one of the challenges we've had this year, and really all school systems across the nation, has been the lack of rising kindergarten enrollment. We've seen a decrease in what we would expect our current kindergartners this year, and we've been working to really market to families to get children enrolled for next year. So with that said, if during our kindergarten registration process, I enrolled my child who should have been in kindergarten this year, but wasn't because of the pandemic, I held them back, but they will be enrolled next year, and I've already completed that process. Can they get a jump start and come to the summer school program before the first day of school? Or as what we just talked about with Ms. Merrill, do they have to have been enrolled this past year? What's your thought on that?
Since the provision that was removed talked about students who were not enrolled in the 2021 school year in Union County or in LEAs, I think that would include that population of kids as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Morris. I apologize. I missed that.
I think the provision for students who were not enrolled, who could have been enrolled, the kindergarten population, would fit in that same criteria that was removed.
Meaning that they could not
Correct.
get first priority on a seat.
That's what I would.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that small break before we move on.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
No problem. All right, let's take a look at Union County Public Schools Summer Learning Camp and start off with the calendar. As you can see here, our Summer Learning Camp will be offered starting on June 14th. That is the start date, and end on July 29th. We will follow a Monday through Thursday work week, with Friday as we are not in session on Fridays. The camp is closed the week of July 5th. That means, the week of July 4th. That means the 5th through the 9th that we will not be in session. And then we will come back for the second half of Summer Learning Camp that following week. The camp will be offered approximately 24 days, which is about 6 weeks. And then, of course, offering those enhanced learning opportunities. The daily schedule, this is just a kind of a rough draft go at it, but we know that we will be in session for 7 hours per those 24 days that we are in session. The minimum of 6.25 hours of instruction is to be offered. And we have to separate, as you can see, the instruction and enrichment and social emotional support, small group instruction out from lunch and physical activity. Lunch and physical activity and in the transition periods cannot be included in our 150 hours that we will be working with our students. Those are separate. So rather than 6 hours and 15 minutes, we are bumping that to 7 hours to take into consideration that the physical activity, the lunch, and the transition in between classes. The locations currently, and this is a rough estimate until we can get all of the information back from those who are interested, but we are looking at 5 at the high school level, 5 EOC sites. Remember, we have to teach the full extension of those courses, and to do so across all 10 doesn't really make sense to us. We're trying to condense that into 5 EOCs, and then just like we always do during the summer, all of our high schools offer a credit recovery in the distance learning labs that we have in all of our schools. So we will have 10 credit recovery sites going on at our high school level. And then, of course, when we move down to the middle school, we're also looking at 5 middle schools offering as locations for the summer learning camp, and then 9 elementary schools. Those 9 elementary schools, we will offer at least 1 elementary in each cluster that we have. We will also look at the data and be able to either retract or expand as needed based on the data coming in. Moving on, Union County Public Schools, if you look about teacher pay, remember there's legislation about requirements, and all of that's kind of built in. The base rate of pay that we will pay our teachers, we are looking at $35 per hour. We're also looking at bonus pay. And I put in here as a bullet that all of our teachers that apply and hired by Union County Public Schools will receive bonus pay. All right, what that is exactly yet, we're still working on it, but we know that there is a $1,200 signing bonus per the legislation in House Bill 82 for those that showed growth. Students have received a bonus pay in years past with reading and math, as well as those that are National Board certified. What that means for others outside of that is yet to be determined, but we will also do as the legislation says, a $150 bonus for the 3rd grade teachers that show that are able to move students out of not proficient into proficiency status. And then an additional $100 per week additional pay for everyone to sign up. We feel that and then I'll move on and I'll come back. But Union County Public Schools instructional support pay. Remember, there are others besides teachers that we will have to employ in order to be successful. Teacher assistants, EL support, translators, tutors, etc. These are the type of individuals that will be hired to help us with the learning loss and overcoming that. And then at a $25 per hour rate, we feel that so far that this is fair and this is competitive with our surrounding districts in what they are offering as well. So it's like I said, we are building this as we are flying it, but this is a starting point for us.
So I would like to ask a question here before we move on. So every teacher who signs up will get a bonus,
Yes, ma'am.
not just the ones who are national board certified.
That is correct. We know the value of all of our teachers. We also know that we need their help.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of hurdles to overcome because of the pandemic, and we want our teachers to know that we value them and we appreciate the work that they are doing.
That's
Right now,
right.
our teachers are hanging on by a thread. We all know that. So are our students. We're going to offer a fun summer learning camp, and we want our teachers to enjoy it. We want our students to enjoy it, and we want to pay our teachers
Right.
for that additional time. And our goal is to make sure that we pay them more of an hourly rate than what they're currently earning, because we are asking them more of them for the
Right.
summer.
During their break.
Yes, ma'am.
So just to clarify for the board members, so that is above and beyond what the state is giving. So what you're saying is that out of our local funds, we're going to give a bonus to every teacher, even regardless of being national board certified or previous bonuses. So locally, we're giving a bonus to every teacher that signs up.
So just to be clear, the entire program will be funded by the ESSER, the federal dollars. So
Okay.
no local dollars will be touched at all.
Okay.
It's all federal funds as part of the COVID relief acts. So what we're proposing and wanting to do is, while the legislation calls for the $1,200 signing bonus for those who are eligible for national board certified and those who have achieved growth in the past, we would like to prorate that for all other teachers, as consider it like a sign-on bonus, as a recruitment incentive to say, we value you regardless of your status of the legislation. If you come teach for this program, we can use the federal dollars as an incentive tool and a recruitment bonus.
I think that is a great idea. And it'll all come out of ESSER funds. And so just to understand, the House bills required $1,200. Are you saying that every teacher will get $1,200 or could potentially get $2,400?
I don't think we can. Well, we're not going to have the available funds to that extent. I think the $1,200 will be reserved specifically for what the bill says. And Ms. McLean can comment. The way I kind of view this is, it's a 6-week program. So I kind of view that as the $1,200 is about $200 a week. So if we could kind of try to figure out how to match that, it won't double that. So if you're a national board certified teacher and you come work for all 6 weeks, that's your $1,200 bonus. If you're a non-national board certified and you come work for all 6 weeks, perhaps if we do a 200 per week schedule, which is I'm just kind of making that up right now. But if we do something like that, then that would be a $1,200 for you for the entire program, even though you're not nationally board certified. So we're trying to figure out how to recruit teachers to come into this program, given the available funds that we have. But no, you would not double that bonus between national board and an additional on top of that.
So we're not going to offer anything above and beyond other than the $100 per week for the national board certified teachers. They could get an additional 100 per week on top of the 1,200.
So the way we structured the planning for this, we did $100 a week for everyone to incentivize it.
Mm-hmm.
We increased the hourly rate for all employees to also encourage people to want to work. So the $35 an hour is, at the top of the scale on the master's pay. The $1,200 is something that we also wanted to mirror for all teachers to try to encourage them to come and work for, to work over the summer. And so we're working through structuring that so that, again, like Dr. Houlihan and Dr. Breedlove said, if they are willing to work over the summer, whether they're national board or not, if they're a qualified, teacher, we want to also incentivize them to come and get those bonuses as well, just to sign up for, if you sign up for 3 weeks or the full 6 weeks. Does that answer your question? So
No.
we've tiered the structure. We've got several different things to encourage people and to pay them substantially over the summer to work the program.
I apologize.
I
It
think-
doesn't answer my question, Dr. Houlihan.
I think her question was if I'm a national board certified and I'm going to get my $1,200 bonus, do I also get the $100 per week on top of that?
Yes, that's for that extra 100 would also apply. Yes.
Okay, that answers it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Are they going to have like a planning period, the teachers, like the same as they would during the regular school year?
We're building the daily schedule
Okay.
kind of as we speak, because that will have to be a part of our plan that we turn into DPI. But, there is let's take a look at elementary, for example. There's an enrichment period. And usually those enrichment periods is where we send off students to PE or art or music, something like that. Then the teacher is able to then work and plan for the upcoming day, the following day. So, yes, that is the plan as good as we can make it right now. But more of that information will come out in those details in the coming weeks.
Okay. And what about like the bus drivers? Are we doing anything different? What kind of pay are we offering for them, cafeteria, that kind of thing?
I'll let Ms. McLam comment on. Can you comment, Ms. McLam, on our hourly workers, such as, bus drivers, custodians, et cetera?
We are doing the same thing with them. I'm building in a higher hourly rate for them because a lot of them do work over the summer. And I'm also trying to build in some sort of incentive similar with the $100 a week to, again, try to bring as many staff because we know we need them to make all this possible. We need our cafeteria workers and others, custodians, and some of our employees are 12 months. So, we're working through some of that as well. But yes, I am looking at a higher hourly rate than what they normally would be receiving.
Thank you.
How soon do you think you'll have that figured out?
I think once we get through all the plan, there was some Q&A that was coming out from DPI. We're looking for some of that, hopefully maybe by tomorrow.
Mhm.
And then we'll be able to finalize all of our plans.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, one more question. What class size are we thinking?
Right now, we're trying to build it based on like summer reading camp, and for elementary was always based on a 1-to-10 ratio. Middle school, we could go up slightly from that, but probably not a lot. It just depends on the number of students that sign up, the number of teachers that we have sign up as well. These are all factors in the calculations.
I think thinking about it too, at maybe a minimum level, as Dr. Breedlove said, kind of that 1-to-10, 1-to-12, but at the max, what I would say is probably whatever mirrors the current class size law in elementary for kindergarten through third grade. That's a good framework to use. It will totally depend on, obviously, all of this is dependent upon the number of families who sign their children up and the number of staff we have who sign up. And when that window closes, I believe April 26th,
Yes, sir.
For students to sign up, we're going to have a much better number. But the goal is to have a reduced class size across the board.
One more question. So if there's a student that potentially is borderline being able to be promoted, if they attend this camp, could that potentially have them get promoted? Is that the point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, you know, we want them in our camp wholeheartedly. And we want to make this, you know, a little bit different than what their traditional schooling is. So we want to re-engage our students, and particularly those students that are borderline. This is an opportunity for them to progress with their classmates and move on, of course.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a look at the timeline. And of course, as of today, there are several things that have already taken place and are in the middle of, such as the window. But communication, we've already spent time communicating with our principals about the summer learning camp and getting them started and acclimated into what this process is going to look like, as well as sharing out the information and communication about our summer learning camp here in Union County Public Schools with our parents. The window is currently open. It's been open since the 16th, and it will, as Dr. Houlihan stated, shut down on the 26th. Also, on the 16th, we were able to, based on the model that I talked about earlier and the number of sites that we would have, go ahead and select our administrators. We haven't given them the sites, of course, but we wanted to go ahead and begin onboarding them into this. All of our administrators will be assistant principals, and that is a great kind of training ground and work. There is nothing that prepares you for the principalship except for the principalship, and this is as close as we can offer. And so we are really excited about our administrators that will be leading our summer camps this year, because the buck stops with them, right? And that's a great badge of honor. Additionally, the window will close, like we said, with on the 26th, and of course we are and will continue to prioritize and try and get as many of our at-risk students into this camp. On the 28th, we will identify and be able to communicate out what those summer learning camp sites are. And this is a timeline that kind of gives us a couple of days to review the data that's coming in about the registration, a survey that went out, and then give us some time to locate those sites and then communicate those sites out. And then, of course, at the end of the month, submitting our plan to the Department of Public Instruction. And that brings me to the conclusion of this initial presentation. There will be others and a lot more information coming out, but this is kind of what the last couple of weeks have been for us and working through as the legislation has come out, as well as Q&As and that from DPI. So at this point, I'll entertain any further questions that you have.
I do have a couple more. So how are the teachers contacting the students that are considered at risk?
Yes, it could be a combination of teacher, counselor, administration that are working, but primarily, yes, it's teachers calling parents. Some parents may be on the fence about what they want to do. It's been a long year in that, but I can't say it enough to ask parents to register their children, especially if they are getting those phone calls from teachers and administrators and counselors, because this is a great opportunity that we've not had in years past, that we really want to re-engage and have a fun, exciting summer. Our goal is we're going to wear them out. All right, we are. That's really a goal that we want, but that's the way to look at it, because we want them to see our schools as a place they want to be and enjoy. So that's, yes, ma'am, we will.
Okay.
Teachers and counselors and principals are calling.
Okay. And then I know we've already talked about for DLI that if parents sign their child up and there is enough interest, that we will try to offer that if there's enough interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
you
So
should sign
regardless
up
of the program,
and hope- yeah.
we want them to sign up.
Okay. Thank you.
Will the,
I have one question.
Yes, I'm Reverend Kirkpatrick. Go ahead.
Miss Sarah, she already asked one of my questions. I got the answer. When we talk about the is this the first year that we've done the program like this?
Yes, sir. The
Okay.
extensiveness of our summer learning camp. Now we've had Read to Achieve camps in the
Yes, sir.
past. We've had, I was the principal in charge of the summer school back in 2005 and 2006 for high school, and when we used to run it that way. But we've gone more towards credit recovery at all of our schools, and that's always since then. That's kind of how we've operated. But
Yes, sir.
in-person instruction, building in enrichment activities, building in small group tutoring, and that as extensive as we are building it, this is the first time, and it's an exciting time.
And the reason I ask is because this, I believe, is a phenomenal program and a phenomenal opportunity for our students. And we want to make sure as many of our kids take advantage of this. And so I was asking to try to compare the previous years on the attendance and the response of parents and what have you, so that this year we can really, really encourage them to take advantage of it. And so that's why I asked. When we talk about the at-risk, and I see that it's identified as at-risk, and I'm just asking, it's kind of like my wife. When she comes to me and she wants something, she says, all you can do is say yes or no. So when we use the term at risk, some parents, they kind of shun from that term, and they really don't understand what it means when their child is at risk. And so they kind of fear that term. Is there another term that possibly we could use to try to get parents to understand the importance of their child or children to be a part of it instead of saying at risk? I'm just curious.
I'm sure we can. Yes, we can use another term, and it's really not it's not being used to be demeaning or anything like that. This is being used all student. I would venture to say that, if I use it one more time, if you forgive me, Reverend Kirkpatrick, that all of our students are at risk at this point with the pandemic. If you want to look at it on a global view, all right. But when we talk about students, you have students that progress further than others during a regular school year, and some of our students need that even additional help and support in order to catch them up to their peers that over the course of the year that may have had access to additional resources, structured different in their daily lives. And so I hear what you're saying, and I will do a better job of maybe not using that term in the future. But these are for students that are just slightly behind in reading, in math, and at the high school level, and may have failed a credit and need that, or multiple credits. And this is an opportunity for us to catch them up so they graduate on time with their peers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And please don't think that I was coming, because I agree. All of us as adults, we are at a level of being at risk as well. But I was just saying that in regards to trying to. Some people fear what they don't know, and some of our parents are at a place where a lot of them are on the fence and very defensive when it comes to their children. So I agree with the at-risk component. I believe in it, and I know that it is absolutely right. But I was just trying to find a way that we could probably present it in a more catchy term so they will understand that even though we're saying that your children are at risk, in another term. But no, please don't think that I was coming against that term, because I agree with it 100%.
May I offer a suggestion just to consider? Maybe select students or identified students. I don't know. I kind of like select.
And in a lot of cases, when principals or teachers reach out to parents, the conversation, I'd like to believe, is more along the lines of, your child is on the verge possibly of not meeting promotion standards. And as a way for them to be promoted to the next grade, this is an opportunity to have them catch up, become a little bit more proficient on standards, and is an extra resource for you. But I don't think we ever, when we talk to the parents, say that, your child is at risk. But that's a good point. I mean, I like Ms. Merrill's idea of, your child has been selected or identified regardless of what their circumstances.
And having two college age students, we always like getting the letters saying that they have been approved or accepted.
Maybe that is the kind of the lens to look at. Thank you for saying that. And that's a term that was used in the legislation, and it's part of our edu-speak and that. And to your point, we will do a better job.
That is a good point, Reverend Kirkpatrick. That was the language that was used in House Bill 82. But I think for Union County Public Schools, you do make a very good suggestion that we don't necessarily have to use the House Bill's term. Mr. Sides, Reverend Kirkpatrick, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I have some questions.
Okay, Mr. Sides.
Is the April 29th date on your timeline for submitting the plan to NCDVI for approval, is that a required date in the legislation?
Yes, sir. We have to submit our plan. All LEAs have to submit their plan 30 days prior to the end of their calendar year, school year, the last day of their school.
As part of that plan we have to submit, are we required to give the enrollment in the summer program?
We are, yes, sir. That is a and they understand that could change, and that's even in part of in some of the directions in that. But we do have to. There's a lot of data that we will have to present, but that enrollment data is one of the things that we will put in there.
Is the April 26th closing of the window for the students to reserve a seat, is that the same closing date for our educators to sign up to participate?
I would imagine that we will continue to I guess, go after or recruit teachers as needed. So no, to answer your question, no, we want to have that information, but I would imagine that we'll continue to have to recruit, because what we do will change, and we might add a program or do something like that, depending on the resources that we have, depending on who signs up. And it's not going to be instantaneous once we have all the data. But as we build it, we'll have to continue to, we might have to add an additional CTE teacher for, a program here or there. So that's just an example.
My concern is, and I understand that these dates are required in the legislation, but my concern is we're closing the window for students to sign up on Monday. We've only been back to school for full 5 days now for a very short period of time, and already we're requiring parents to make to go ahead and apply for summer school. But I understand it's a requirement, so we really don't have any choice. How many students and or educators do we have signed up to date? Do we know?
I do not know that answer, and by tomorrow I can look and I can be able to get that information out to this committee.
Are there any other questions from Mrs. May, Reverend Kirkpatrick, Mr. Sides? If not, I had a couple of questions. So once the students, the window closes on the 26th, am I hearing that we will not be able to identify what the site locations will be until after we see all of the applications come in after it closes on the 26th. So after that time, we'll be able to identify where those sites need to be located.
That is correct. And I may be wrong on this, Dr. Breedlove, but I think when the parent communication that went out about registration, we said that the sites have not been determined, but would be communicated by, I want to say like May 14th or something like that. I may have that date wrong, but I think in the middle of May is the goal to communicate which sites will be available based on staffing and the number of students that have been signed up.
And so to go along with what Mr. Sods had asked, communication, according to this timeline, communication has gone out to parents that their student has been selected since April 16th. So they've had from the 16th to the 26th to decide if they're going to sign up or not.
That is correct. And once again, we are opening this up to all students, but direct communication to families and parents from a teacher to that student probably is more with the students who are our select students.
Mm-hmm. I think what I'm trying to get on the record is that we've been notifying parents and students for a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So it's not like, Monday's popping up and we haven't had time to think about it.
That is
okay.
correct.
So parents began being notified probably between the 15th or 16th if their child had been selected. And parents have had a couple of weeks to ask questions or think about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Our teachers, principals, and counselors following up to ensure that the select students have enrolled? Meaning, what if a parent doesn't have access to enroll or is just struggling and they don't understand? I'm assuming, is this through Scribbles, or how are they signing up?
They are doing it via a link that each individual school sent out to their own families to collect the data. We want the schools to be in charge of their own data because they know the students and they know the families. And to your point, now they instantly can see whether or not a certain student has enrolled or not and make that phone call if they haven't.
I would implore staff, teachers, counselors, principals, and yourself, I would implore you to follow up to see what percentage of kids that were selected who have signed up or haven't signed up, and for someone at the school level to reach out Friday or Monday or over the weekend to ask those parents, hey, I haven't noticed your child has not signed up. Is there anything I can assist you with? Do you need, do they need help? Do they not have access to internet or something? Or
yes,
so
ma'am.
I just asked for
great
follow
point,
up.
and we will do that. And I can assure you that our schools will do that.
And the last comment, no, it's not the last comment. One of the last things I want to follow up on is my personal request that I had spoken to Dr. Houlihan and you about is, in order to make this fun, more like a summer camp, we want it to be fun and maybe to try things that students haven't experienced before. And I wanted to know if you had any thoughts or consideration about introducing all students to Singapore math.
Yes, ma'am. That has been a topic of our academics team meeting. And I am pleased to let you know that we will be piloting it for all students this summer.
At the elementary level.
At the elementary level, yes, ma'am.
And
Yes.
I am so happy to hear that because I think it is a travesty for the best school district in North Carolina to only offer Singapore math to AIG students, because I think that is a proven, tried and true building block for students to do well in middle school. Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, ACT, SAT. And I truly believe that if we start introducing all students to Singapore math, that our district will benefit, our students will benefit in 8th grade when they take the pre-ACT or the pre-SAT. And I am so happy to hear that our summer school students are going to be introduced to this opportunity, because in my mind, I think that is the one thing I would like to see change in Union County Public Schools, is to have all of our students, whether they test well or don't test well, qualify or not qualify, that should not be a hidden secret for AIG only. So thank you very much.
Well, yes, ma'am. You're welcome, and the credit goes to on our side, on the academic side, to Dr. Healy and her team as listening and understanding, and also seeing the value of Singapore math as well, and jumping on that.
And in closing, I just want to say how I continue to be impressed by our cabinet staff, Dr. Houlihan, Dr. Breedlove, and everyone on your team who has, it just seems like, I heard you mention that this is pretty much all you've done probably for the last couple of weeks. And I continue to be overwhelmed, impressed, and proud of the leadership in Union County Public Schools and the directors, everyone on your team. Because ever since last March, it has been a new fire. I know you have not been able to take a break. And I just want to say thank you. And I am so grateful for the team that we have. And this is absolutely great work to be able to, every time something comes out of Raleigh, this team does such a good job for our students. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Are there any other comments or questions about summer learning camp? So would you like a motion to send us to the full board? Or
If you'd like to, we can send it to the full board as an FYI, because we have to submit it to the state by April 29th. So we don't necessarily need approval today, but if you'd like for the board to have it as an FYI, we can provide that as well.
Well, if it's information only, we'll leave it at that. I just didn't know with the bonuses and everything that you're trying to put together. Thank you, Ms. McClam. So I didn't know if because of the bonuses and stuff that you're trying to develop and put together, if we need approval to send to the full board. Because it sounds like you still have a lot of questions about what you will or will not be able to do with funding. And because funding was involved, that's why I didn't know if it should be an action item.
The funding piece of it, our application is due by May the 7th. So we're going to submit that application. Once that application comes back, we're going to put together, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be approved, but we'll put together like a one-pager, because there will be a requirement for federal monitoring that we have a detail out of how we're doing our compensation. So we'll bring that to you all for approval, and then it'll come through like an amendment almost. So I could put something to get, maybe I'll put we should have some word maybe before we have our finance committee meeting next week.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah,
We have a
and we'll
finance
put-
committee, and
We'll put it through finance committee, and then you all will get it at May board meeting.
Okay, so I think we'll just let this be information only. You'll notify the finance committee when you have verified, what we're able to do for custodians, bus drivers, child nutrition, the additional bonuses or compensation for our teachers and administrators. Just make sure you send that through so that the finance committee knows about it, can ask questions, and then they can recommend it to the full board.
Yep, we'll do that.
Thank you very much. Okay, so it appears we have no action items. In closing, our next meeting will be May 20th at 11 a.m. if necessary, and I'll let Dr. Breedlove and his team decide if we have one in May and if it will be in person or Zoom. And I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 3-0.